everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor Podcast. I'm Robert Scarpanito, your features editor.
Rutledge Doggett, site founder.
Andrew Stretch, the Andrew editor.
Mm-hmm. And where is the other Andrew?
It doesn't matter. We don't care.
Okay. No, Otten is off this week, so we're letting him enjoy whatever it is he's doing, probably on another hunt for some Warcraft pictures.
It's weirdly enough, he just keeps tweeting screen caps of him getting chicken dinners in Fortnite. It's I guess he really took it seriously. Yeah,
he's on the way to becoming a professional Fortnite streamer. So happy for him. Yeah,
he's finally learned how to floss, which is good. Dental hygiene is important. He's also dancing a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what that dance is, though. I don't really get much of that.
Very excited about the Super Saiyan update.
Yes. He's finally going to play with his best friend, Goku. So in this week's podcast, we're going to talk about Cult of the Lamb later on. We're also going to talk a little more about Xenoblade 3 and Tower of Fantasy. But first, let's get into some news because the console wars are back. Finally, it's 1999 all over again. Sony and Microsoft are button heads.
All we're missing is those just absolutely incredible Sega ads. And I need Xbox or Sony, either one, to just revive that genre of advertisement because looking back at those, we need more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Sega will do what Nintendo don't.
Yeah. Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah, I don't even know what they would do now. Would Sony release an ad that's like, what? There's a Microsoft collection of games on Game Pass, some shit like that. I can't really do much.
Rather than the
there.
Sega scream, it's just somebody screaming Xbox Games Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox.
So to set the stage, as you all probably know, Microsoft is in the process of buying Activision Blizzard. And
what?
That's go through. Yeah, it's kind of big news.
That's huge news. When did that happen?
It hasn't yet. That's the thing. Yeah. So that big purchase is to go through a lot of checks and balances, and not just in America, but throughout the world. And one of the big regulators is Brazil's. And for some reason, Brazil has they just kind of do all of this stuff publicly, as in all the documents are just kind of posted online. There's, of course, some things that are redacted for business critical purposes, but there's a lot of information out there from a lot of big stakeholders in the industry who have been asked questions about this purchase. And there's some pretty interesting things that have come out of those questions, right? I think one of the big ones is Sony basically saying that Call of Duty is a genre of its own, to the point where if Microsoft owns Call of Duty, that's game over for PlayStation, I guess, is kind of the end of that line of thinking. Because to them, who would buy a PlayStation if there isn't Call of Duty on it?
Definitely not God of War or anything Spider-Man on that platform.
What are those?
Or just Overwatch available on everything. Battlefield, I guess. Battlefront, I guess.
Apex Legends.
Sony is not wrong in saying that if Xbox was to take the Call of Duty franchise and make it single platform, it would be a big deal. Mm-hmm. Is Call of Duty a platform on its own or a genre of its own? No.
Yeah. I mean, let's not undersell it completely, though, right? Because Call of Duty is a huge machine, right?
Astronomical.
Yeah, and from a gameplay perspective, there isn't really much that feels or plays like a Call of Duty, so I'll give them that. But I think there's enough options, especially on this, in the shooter space, where if you don't have access to Call of Duty, there's so many battle royales to check out, so many other shooters to check out. You'll be fine.
Check out Hunt Showdown. I hear that's an okay game, I guess.
Maybe. It's all right.
Watching Run get triggered.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous to watch this. We joked about the console wars, which is stupid. Don't war with other people because they own different plastic than you. That's really dumb.
Sony ponies, Xbots, chill out. This is not your space.
But it is like, this board first went out and asked a whole bunch of like large players in gaming publishing space and in tech as well. Like Apple was asked, Google was asked, and Sony was the only one that had some issues with it.
Interesting.
Who would have guessed? How strange.
Yeah.
But to see this all, like the litigation, the defense, and what could have been a very non-inflammatory event has directly brought Microsoft and Sony's legal or PR to each other, which is really cool. As someone who loves digging down into the industry, knowing trends, knowing what's going on about the big deals, it's really cool to be able to get just such an unabridged look at what has been going on, and kind of the public announcement of Xbox. We've all known that they've been shifting away from reporting sales statistics and everything because their sales have paled in comparison. Just this week, Sony announced that they were going to stop reporting PlayStation 4 sales numbers, but that at last count it was at 117 million. Mm-hmm. Whereas the current predictions for Xbox One, including all of the subcategories of Xbox Ones, is sitting between 50 to 55 million. So
it's still respectable.
Oh yeah, that's a shit ton of consoles. Yeah. But when second place is not even halfway to your sales, that's astronomical. And
there's pros and cons of both platforms at the end of the day, I think. But
kind of one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is Xbox defending that they continually said was pro-gamer, pro-consumer practices, things like Game Pass and putting the first-party things on, versus Sony not wanting to shift from their pay-to-play model that they have been absolute market leaders, market juggernauts in. Mm-hmm. And so this is the first time that it's really been, like how Nintendo kind of took the Wii and sidestepped out of the console wars. Microsoft is very boldly stating our strategy is not to compete. We're in a different market now. We are a different thing. We're looking at different metrics. We are not holding ourselves to the same metric.
It's not just really weird. I think the way the industry's evolved over the last 5 to 10 years is it's not just who can sell the most games anymore. It's who has the platform. I think that Steam took a while to pick up. It's now this massive platform. Xbox has Games Pass. They're building a whole thing around that in terms of not only your Xbox, but your PC can share game saves, can share specific games as well.
Even mobile phones, and then coming soon, every Samsung Smart TV.
Yeah. That's I think rumors say that's why they're buying Blizzard, because they want to trademark "Don't you guys have phones?" so they can say it in their marketing.
Yes. Oh man.
Oh, well played.
It was weird. But Blizzard gave them the option: either you can buy every microtransaction in Diablo Infinite, or you can pay $79 billion for us. And Microsoft found that the $79 billion was cheaper.
Yeah, kind of. And that right there is a $79 billion joke.
But I mean,
it's about the platforms.
It's not just Xbox and Sony though too. You've got Nintendo trying to build a platform. You've got Epic trying to build a platform and paying a significant amount of money to do so. I think that again, we've shifted from, in the 90s, it was Sega and Nintendo kind of duking it out over who could sell the most consoles, who could sell the most games off their shelves. And now it's, who has the most active users, which is, it kind of falls in with the SaaS model, software as a service, that we've seen most software companies take at this point. It's more profitable to have users who are playing and paying on a consistent basis than buying here and there as new game releases come out. So I think the ROI is higher, and whether or not Call of Duty becomes an Xbox exclusive, there is a huge divide right now in terms of what Sony's offering on their platform versus Xbox. Like, I think the most recent update from PlayStation Plus Premium was like almost nothing. And I definitely saw people who were like, really? Like, that's what you're giving us for this update? And I think it's a mentality thing more than anything. And right now, to me, Xbox is winning that because they have the right messaging. They have kind of the right plan in terms of just consistency. Month after month, you're getting something new. And again, whether or not Call of Duty is an Xbox exclusive, Sony's got to find a way to match that so that they can kind of join this whole, at this point, like, community war. Who's got the larger, most consistent community? That's who's going to be the most profitable.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big takeaway here, right? Is like, it's what you said too, Stretch, is that Sony is kind of unwilling to shift. They want to kind of keep doing what they're doing, which it is working for them, right? And it is starting. Yeah, but it's starting to make me wonder how much of this is just like money talks versus, I don't know, art talks, whatever you'd want to call it. Because, like, people will still come to PlayStation for Ragnarok. Like, the excitement for Ragnarok is palpable, right? I would say it's pretty comparable, if not maybe even more than Call of Duty.
Wait.
Yeah, like, there's a new Modern Warfare coming out this year. Yeah, who gives a shit? It looks like the old Modern Warfare, right? Like, but then Ragnarok, when that thing drops, that's going to be like a nuclear bomb, tactical nuke incoming, right? So there's just this weird thing where it's like Sony understands that they have these amazing exclusives going on, right? Like, you can bet your ass if they announce Uncharted 5, Last of Us 3, whatever it is, like that, whatever Naughty Dog's next project is, they're going to have asses in seats. Yet they still know that those asses won't make as much money as the ones that are in Call of Duty, right? So that's why this all kind of feels like a money thing to me, where it's really not about the integrity of, having the genre of its own Call of Duty be accessible to everyone. It's more that stream of money isn't going to have PlayStation in it anymore, and that's what's worrying them.
Yeah, and it comes down to that mindset, like you said. Again, like, they're not willing to change. And, look at Circuit City. Neither were they. I'm not saying Sony's going to go out of business, though. Like, it's just like, in terms of mindset, you've got to be willing to shift with the times. And it feels like Sony's holding on to something that just isn't what gamers look for anymore. Because, again, it's kind of like the discourse we've seen in recent months. Like, everything's community focused in terms of games. Developers and gamers are talking significantly more closer than they were in the past. There's obviously detrimental stuff onto that, but it is very much a war for where do I want to spend most of my time? Do I want Xbox achievements or do I want PlayStation trophies? Like, that probably is the best way to explain it, is like, I've put all this time in on this platform that I'm, very much invested in. Who does it better?
God, I just realized I'm the only one here who doesn't give a shit about achievements, and that kind of scares me.
I give shits about achievements where they are attainable. Multiplayer achievements, I don't give a crap about. I actually really like what Call of Duty did, like giving you different like emblems and stuff, and the same thing that Halo used to do. that like all of the multiplayer achievements and like the multiplayer triumphs that you would have would correlate to obtaining different cosmetic gear that you could then like show off.
Minus the Halo Infinite achievement that you have to fill an entire Razorback and honk the horn or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we have seen Sony start to make a few steps. Like in the past, they definitely did with PlayStation Now when that was available on Sony Bravia TVs and through like your browser and stuff. And then they shifted away from it, likely because the infrastructure just wasn't quite there at the time, versus now where it's still not there. We had that great chat about cloud gaming last week. But Sony has been making some steps. Adding more backwards compatibility is nice. But that was one of the things that people were also complaining about with this latest batch of PlayStation Plus Premium. Like you're paying the premium price to get access to the backwards compatible titles, but no backwards compatible titles were added this time. And last month, I think that there was like a single PSP game. And it kind of, it makes you question what the value of that backwards compatible service is going to be, if it's more, but if they're just not going to commit to adding to it. We've seen them fumble before with the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 2. It seems like Sony isn't coming into PlayStation Plus Premium with the idea of, okay, yeah, we can really do this. We can make this their own. It feels like they're one step still out of the pool. They're just waiting till it gets to a point where they can drop it and move on, and people won't cause too much of a fuss.
Yeah, because they're basically chasing and reacting to Xbox right now, right? Because how I'm feeling in this Xbox v Sony thing is more like it really does remind me a lot of the streaming versus movie theaters that's happening right now, where like Xbox is very literally going for the streaming market, right? Like people will always have Netflix and Hulu in their home or whatever, Disney Plus, whatever your poison is, right? And like you're gonna probably be watching that multiple times a week. But then there's the occasional movie that's going to make you say, I need to go to the theater to see that. It's going to be Avatar 2. It's going to be the next big Marvel film. It's going to be Top Gun Maverick, right? Like that movie is what Sony is, right? Like you're occasionally going to get out there, buy that big exclusive, play it for a week or two, but then you come back to Xbox where you have this constantly rotating selection of games that you have for kind of free,
Yeah, and I think what's funny too, just kind of thinking on it, is with PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, that was when PlayStation Plus first started. Then they were offering free games every month, and that was before Xbox was doing it. And so they were ahead of the game with their platform. They had a lot of, again, I think it heavily contributed to the PS4 sales compared to Xbox One. Like at the time, during that generation, which really does not feel that long ago, they had the better platform that was keeping people coming back month after month. And then with Xbox, towards the end of Xbox One, start of Xbox Series SX, Games Pass really kicked it into high gear. Microsoft was putting in that investment, and it's working. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as Disney and Netflix right now. Disney Plus now has a larger streaming platform than Netflix because they are putting so much into it. They also spent like $79 billion to buy the tech from MLB, which still blows my mind. But it's who's willing to build a platform that has everything you're looking for.
Yeah,
I think that's the mindset shift that has to happen with Sony if they kind of want to recapture gamers, is understanding like why do gamers enjoy Xbox Game Pass? Part of it is I'm getting stuff that I've played in the past. Part of it is the ability to play on different platforms, and part of it is just never ending new games. That's
Day
like,
one,
that lets you
too.
just keep day one exclusives. Like I think that's the biggest thing that Sony is missing is if you subscribe to the highest tier of PlayStation Plus Premium, because I can never remember the freaking name, you get God of War Ragnarok on day one. Like
that would be the
can
game.
you imagine how quickly their subscription service would ramp up if they did that? Like done.
It's like it's not only a messaging shift, but it's like putting your money where your mouth is, right? Because like that's what Xbox did when the Xbox One started as that machine that wanted to be your TV and your console. Nobody cared about that, and then they shifted to, okay, we're going to offer you Game Pass, and we're actually going to make Game Pass a worthy investment for you and for us. And
remind me, the Xbox One did it have a coax cable in the back, like the port? Or am I misremembering?
I don't remember.
It didn't have coax. It had an IR beamer, but it had the HDMI in. So that you would,
right.
And with HDMI CEC, you'd feed your cable box into your Xbox, so that then you could use Kinect and Cortana to like control channels. You could, I believe, use it as a DVR. You go into the settings and program like where you were, what stations you had, what service you were on, and it would pull all of that data for you. But yeah, they tried to be like, we want to be your all-in-one unit for everything you want to do. And now they're just like, we want to just be the place that you play games.
Although what's ironic is now in 2022, I bet there's a sizable number of people out there who only have like the Xbox, Hulu, and Disney apps on their Xbox, and the Xbox is basically their TV box and gaming box anyway. So it all comes full circle. You know? I think what's also interesting too is that out of these documents, we also have Microsoft claiming that Sony pays for like blocking rights essentially to have a game not be on Game Pass, which kind of that feels like a very smoking gun for Sony understands the threat that Game Pass holds.
It's also the wrong way to spend your money. Rather than blocking it, why don't you invest in getting something on your platform?
Well, I think
because it doesn't do much to bring new users.
I have a feeling that what was really happening here, it's just the same type of exclusivity that we've always seen. Yeah. I think that Microsoft worded this statement very specifically, very pointedly to make Sony out to be the bad guy. But since the dawn of video games, companies have been investing in development, helping pay for publicity, this, that, everything, to get stuff exclusive to their platform. I would be a little bit confused if it was specifically some clause in a contract saying, you cannot be on their streaming service if it's like a multi-platform release.
Right.
I may be wrong. I may be, just seeing the way that Microsoft is phrasing this and being like, this seems a little bit inflammatory to say.
It's sneaky, and I agree with you. I think it's a similar thing where I bet you Sony would phrase Microsoft buying Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard as they're purchasing blocking rights for Call of Duty, which technically
just like
kind of, but
anytime there's ever been an exclusive game on Xbox that hasn't been a first party release, are they questioning that there's some kind of, you could say, oh, well, Xbox has invested funds in the development of said title, and for that has determined that, as part of the negotiation, there will be an exclusivity period. But you can very quickly twist that to say, Sony paid money so that PlayStation gamers can't play that game. And both mean the same thing. It's just how you twist it.
Exactly.
What's super interesting to me. Exactly.
Yeah.
What's super interesting to me is that when Microsoft did say that Sony is paying for, air quote, blocking rights, that they did bring up like that there is a bunch of redacted content right after that. So Microsoft would have been there and said, this company, or this game. I'm sure that Destiny is up there, like Bungie and Destiny. Yes, Sony now owns Bungie, but since like the start of Destiny, when it first released 7 years ago or something now, knowing that there was always equipment and a strike that was, a year delayed to get to Xbox versus PlayStation. I'm sure that like that's part of it. I'm sure that they're talking about Square Enix as well. But I would love to know what else was on that list.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely it feels very, it's like we were joking about at the beginning of the pod. This feels very console war-y, so it's back again, but it's not as juvenile as it was back in the day with Sega and Nintendo.
And the ads aren't going to be as good.
No.
I think that's what upsets me the most. The war, it is what it is, but I want just those ads that we look back now and we're like, holy shit, how did this make it to air?
A weird like drawing of the console wars into the physical litigious like public eye. And it's so interesting.
Yeah, like ironically, it's also like the most boring the console wars have been, because this is like legal documents. You know what I mean? This is chloroform on paper kind of shit. But it's also like once you dig into it and read like what's going on here, it's like, okay, there's some
it's also
shit.
like, PR for PR's sake, and of course Microsoft can change their mind at the drop of a hat if they want to, if this purchase goes through. But Microsoft has also stated multiple times that they have zero plans to take Call of Duty and make it single platform. And in their own words themselves, they would be losing money by not putting it on the other platform. It is also kind of funny that other big Activision properties like World of Warcraft are not getting any mention whatsoever. But I guess that wouldn't be for Sony to say as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to be moving from PC. So
no.
Yeah, well, we've got Final Fantasy 14 on the PlayStation 5. So do you reckon it could be something as weird as like Xbox gets World of Warcraft console edition and PlayStation keeps Final Fantasy 14?
Man, that would be kind of an L for Microsoft though, huh?
Oh, huge L. No, it's bleeding subscribers right now. But also, if you're like, hey, here's your monthly benefits for being a Xbox Game Pass subscriber, and also you can stream World of Warcraft console edition to your phone.
Don't you guys have phones? There you go.
Yeah,
right? It's full circle.
Yeah. And I mean, the Game Pass is still kind of becoming just that ultimate value, right? Because I mean, it's also just offhandedly reminded me too that you get to play like all the league champions, right? Just by owning Game Pass. It's like,
Valorant 2.
Yeah.
And something Smite, else. Doesn't it?
Smite 2 has some stuff. Yeah. I mean, they've done a great job of forming some pretty incredible partnerships. I mean, Riot Games itself, that's a huge win for them.
Yeah.
That fan base is just absolutely massive.
Getting in bed with all the problematic players in the industry.
Hey, now they actually did have a good report come out this week. So
yeah, that's true. They seem to have turned a cheek a little. Yeah. Well, let's cleanse our palates a little bit with some more fun news. Arc System Works, you might know them from Dragon Ball Fighters, and Guilty Gear Strive. They are saying that they're more open to doing collaborative games in the future, like with collaborating with IPs. So, I mean, that's something they're not strangers to. Obviously, like there's a Dragon Ball game, there's Blaze Blue, right? And there's that
Blaze Blue.
That one Grand Blue Fantasy.
You're not meant to pronounce the Z, I've learned.
In Fighters?
No, in Blaze Blue.
No, that's stupid. And there's
we're moving on from that one.
Actually,
DNF Duel too, right? Because that's based on a mobile game, like Dungeon Fighters or something like that. So they do a lot of collaborations already. So it's not like surprising necessarily that they're open to doing more, but it does just kind of open the floodgates for thinking like, what else could they do, right?
Especially like if they have the engine, if they don't need to worry about creating original characters, and if they can just like leech isn't the right term, but if they can just like draw in on a fan base, that sounds like a great idea. Like I want the Naruto Fighter Z, I want One Piece Fighter Z, I
Demon
want
Slayer,
Pokemon
probably.
Fighter Z.
That exists. It's called Pokken Tournament.
No, that's not what I said.
Are you saying that's a bad game? Excuse you.
I still question the fact that Suicune is in a fighting game.
Yeah. They did the Persona 4 Arena, right? And Arena Ultimax too.
Like Ultimax, yeah. Which is getting a remaster, getting a remake, re-release, sorry.
Didn't it? Yeah, that came out,
right?
It?
Sorry,
yeah.
It might have already come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just got a rollback netcode or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
In doing the editing for this story, I did some deep digging into what collaborations ArcSys has done in the past. They had the coolest 3DS fighting games. I like immediately ran to all of my friends who are like very into the FGC. But they had a Dragon Ball Z fighting game that they released, and it was like all cool, whatever. It was a 3DS game. Then a year later, they released a One Piece fighting game using the exact same engine. People enjoy that. It runs great, whatever. And then like 6 months later, they're like, oh, here we're putting in an update. These two games now have crossplay.
Oh.
And so you've just like one game has the full roster of One Piece characters, the other game full roster of DBZ characters, and just entirely separate games can play them together.
So you can finally settle the score. Who's stronger, Goku or Pirate Goku?
Well, you can do that in a what was that other crap game? Jump Force.
Jump Force. Featuring famous fighters like Yugi Moto.
Yep, but like in weird, really hard 3D.
Yeah.
That was an odd one. But yeah, like if they took what is currently such a popular fighter like Fighter Z, and just like made a version with One Piece characters, they'd sell millions instantly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like Dragon Ball was like that perfect IP for them because it's one of those IP that has like so many fans like all over. Like a lot of people know Dragon Ball, right? Yeah. And then it is a fighting show. Like it just, I mean, there have been multiple Dragon Ball fighting games in the past already. So for them to come in and do their ArcSys magic on it just makes total sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're one of those companies that it's like they do a thing and they nail it pretty much every single time. Yeah. And it's so cool to see. And, you know, the people there must be so incredibly passionate about what they do and counting frame data and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're getting rewarded for it because people love the game. It was huge at Evo once again.
Yeah. I mean, they're just so stylish about it too, right? Like, I mean, if you just look at Guilty Gear, like those games have always been so stylish, but Strive is just like on another level of just rule of cool owns everything, you know? And you feel that too. And like in Dragon Ball Fighters where yes, it's based on the IP and there's a lot of it that feels very reminiscent of the show, right? And there are even like comparisons of some of the cutscenes or like the special attacks you do in the game that are like pretty much directly pulled from a shot from the show. But there's just that little twist of like ArcSys flair that gets added on, you know, that just, there's really nothing like an ArcSys game. Yeah.
Looking forward to see what they do next, you know, especially yeah, I mean, whether it's their own thing or knowing how into working collaboratively it could be another like Blade Blue cross tag, but just with a whole bunch of different characters from a whole bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm. Or hear me out, Spy Family Fighter, Spy Family X, Z.
I mean, we can joke about that, but if they paired Anya up with the dog and had them like a Duck Hunt dog-esque character, that would probably be excellent.
Well, you heard it here first, coming 2024.
But and then they can have, and then they can cross in with Full Metal Alchemist characters, and then they can have Nina and the dog be a paired duo as well. And then they can have them do a fusion dance, and then pull DBZ characters in.
Is it still too soon? I feel like it's still too soon.
Right? You're like, what? No.
I have literally no idea what you two are talking about. Like, zero. What is
human
like, experimentation? This is going a lot of different directions.
Yeah, it's abhorrent against humanity. Human experimentation. It's what we're currently joking lightheartedly about.
In a make-believe hypothetical fighting game.
Yeah.
That's where you got to include that make-believe part.
Rut, your homework for next week is watch Full Metal Alchemist.
All of it.
Even Brotherhood.
Isn't that
Brotherhood,
like
the original? Nah, it's like 52 episodes.
64.
Like 64, sorry. 20 minutes, though.
Thanks. I'll just go rewatch Stargate SG-1. I'm good.
Nah, just watch a good show.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think that does it for the news this week. So let's jump into some games we've been playing. Rhett, after you're done talking about Stargate, do you want to tell us about Cult of the Lamb?
Yes. This is one that kind of took me by surprise in terms of I had been watching it and I was like, oh, cool. It's a roguelike. But then our team started playing it before launch and they were like, yeah, there's also like sim stuff to it in terms of like crafting and building and like making your followers happy. And then at that point I was fucking sold. So I hopped in. I've played about 7 hours ish, and it's good.
Are you very far in the game?
I'm on the second boss now, I think.
Okay. So it'll be a while until you bleed it?
Yes.
The sheer magnitude of these jokes are just palpable.
Just
you know me.
Yep. But it's definitely got a lot of interesting elements to it, in terms of, you know, you're recruiting followers who will not only like collect things like wood and stone for you and convert and worship you so that you can gain divine inspiration, which then lets you unlock more buildings. But there's also kind of obviously a cult element to it, to where you are choosing doctrines, to where it's like you do a new doctrine that's either like for 3 days your followers don't sleep and don't eat and they just work, or you give them a day off. So you can be like a benevolent cult leader or an evil one. Same thing, you can either sacrifice or you can ascend them. And each one has perks.
What does ascend mean? Because ascend sounds like cult speak for sacrifice.
I mean, if you sacrifice, you get points based off of their loyalty. If you ascend them, you get some points based off of their loyalty, but also all of your other followers get more loyalty from it. So there's like, if you want to get enough to jump to that next level of the crown that lets you get higher level weapons at the start of every run, or you want to increase the loyalty of your followers to ideally exponentially grow that with each like sermon you give. And then there's the roguelike stuff to it as well, in terms of every single run's different, kind of Slay the Spire-esque traversal. So you'll go through one map, which will be one kind of level up towards the final mini boss fight. And there's like tarot cards. So you'll run into a little shopkeeper who has tarot cards and you can choose from one or two. And just stuff like that. And I'll say for me, the combat feels not great. The sim side is very, very good. I don't mind the combat. But if you're someone who liked like Enter the Gungeon and then also likes kind of sim-esque components as well, they do merge pretty well.
So
and I'm having fun.
If I'm understanding it, is a gameplay loop like you go out on a run and then when you come back, there are resources or something that you can use to build up your settlement, your compound, perhaps we can call it.
Yeah. So you go out on a run, and throughout that run, you can collect different resources, or you might stumble across a new follower to indoctrinate. And then you go back, you indoctrinate that follower, learn what their like pros and cons are. Cause for some, it's like if they get sick, you lose 15 faith, and faith is kind of centered around the happiness and like how many sermons you give, how effective they are, doctrines, all that kind of stuff. And then like collect the resources that they've gathered for you, and then like build up your settlement and continually add things. Like early on, your cultists are just shitting and vomiting everywhere.
Nice.
And you have to clean it up. As they do. And that's also tied into the food system to where when you're cooking, some foods have a chance to make them instantly take a dump or vomit. Which is just, and there's also one that's like a 75% chance that they die, or 75% chance or 25% chance that you get like high level resources. It's just called like bowl of death or something. So there's a lot of like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that type stuff to it? And as you get higher in the building tree, like farming becomes a little more automated. You can have a janitor station so that your cultists clean up after themselves, and you can get an outhouse so that they don't just take a shit in the woods.
We're civilized in this cult.
Yeah, we're civilized. We absolutely use that poop for fertilizer. But yeah, I mean, the components are pretty solid.
So I think an important question is, I've heard that you can name your cult. What is the name of your cult?
Cult of Rut, because I'm boring as fuck. It was like, name your cult, and I was like, I just want to start playing.
You've let me down. You've let yourself down. You've let the people down.
Should it have just been TechRaptor?
Well, no, you've already got a cult named TechRaptor.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry, am I not meant to say that quiet part out loud?
Oops. No, we hear some Kool-Aid for you to
Back
drink.
in the basement.
Yeah.
To the guide's mine I go.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this game since it came out, and it seems to be like it's a very tongue-in-cheek kind of take on cults, which I'm like kind of interested in. And I've heard more about the simi stuff where it's like you're building up your settlement. That also sounds more interesting to me than like the roguey wokey part of it.
You're not the only one. I saw somebody tweet, they're like, I haven't even finished the first dungeon and I've completely upgraded my settlement.
Yeah.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever played Forager?
No,
but it's probably right up my alley, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass too. That's where I played it. I'm going to recommend you check out Forager Rut, because it's got a lot of that. Like there is like some dungeon diving into it, but the vast majority of it is that like upgrading systems, building pipelines, harvesting resources, upgrading everything. I played so much of that on my Xbox One S that just booting the game now lags.
So it has a Skyrim from PS3 vibe.
Yeah.
So,
I'm absolutely a sim addict, though. Like I very much enjoy the crafting survival sims.
fair enough.
I'm gonna pass you that link, and that can be the game that you talk about next week. 'Cause it'll take over your life. Yep, it's on Game Pass.
So we won't hear from him for a whole week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
It'll just be Forager and Hunt Showdown.
like you'll show up on the pod next week, like disheveled, haven't showered in days. Just all you've been doing is foraging.
But I just needed to buy one more island. That's all.
Just one more.
Hey, Stretch, do you want to talk about Tower of Fantasy? It is now fully out. People have been playing it, and people on Twitter are having thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah. I got early access to Tower of Fantasy, and it's a cool game. I mean, in terms of a free-to-play title, this is the kind of game that I would have wished to have been around when I was younger. It's a really fun game. It has all of like the necessary beats in it, but it just doesn't quite have the gaminess about it. Beautiful, large open world. The character customization is really cool. The combat's actually a lot of fun. A lot of people have been comparing it to Genshin, which I totally get. Genshin just has that extra level of depth or complexity that a lot of other the Tower of Fantasy just doesn't quite have. It's the perfect kind of like mindless. You have a podcast going on. You've got a season of a show that you're catching up on. It is a second screen experience of a game. It's not to say, like the combat, I think, is actually, funnily enough, more in depth than Genshin Impact. It's got a really fantastic and very rewarding dodge mechanic. That like split second, like perfect dodges, like create a bubble of slowed time. The multiplayer was fun to get into. There's a lot of promotion of like, you want to be playing this with people because world bosses you won't be able to beat on your own, or there's like certain chests and items that require multiple people to get it. And it feels like they really pulled from like Genshin Impact and that open world anime RPG for like their design document, but they kind of like forgot the heart of it. It hasn't helped that it's launched as an absolute buggy mess. I was playing it on PC and it was running fine. I haven't actually had a chance to attempt to play it on the live server yet. I tried to download it to my phone to play because it's also on iOS and Android. And even having like 20 gigs of free space on my phone, it was telling me you don't have enough space for this update. And it's like, well, I guess I just won't be playing this game.
That's a lot for a phone.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, so like clearly something is wrong. Like I think that it might have been like server issues were why it was saying that you can't play this. But I haven't had a chance to get into it. I know that other people have been having pretty buggy experiences. But if you're like looking for something that you just want to like grind out to, it's really awesome. Free to play. They give you so much stuff for the gacha pulls. Like even in my trial, like my trial period that I had, I got up to like level 20 something. By the time I was level 18, I had already managed to collect enough to do at least 100 pulls. And I wasn't even like, doggedly seeking out the items that you can get to gain access.
And they're giving a lot up front too with launch. Isaac ended up writing a guide on how to get a bunch of pulls like right out the gate.
Yeah. And they released because they're at like 40 million pre-registrations. They released a whole bunch of stuff for that as well, which was, really awesome of them.
So I'm curious, how do you feel about it? Like it just came out last week. And if I remember right, later this week, Genshin 3.0 or whatever, like the new Genshin big update comes out.
Yes, that's
4th.
Yeah. So on the 24th, and this isn't just like one of the normal big Genshin updates. This is they're expanding to the 4th continent. Since the inception of Genshin Impact, like the game, it's 1.0 launched with access to 2 continents. And then everything from like year 2 on has all been on the 3rd continent, Inazuma. But these, like, they're huge land masses. There's like as much content in there as other games would have in their entirety. So knowing that they're 11 from the time we're recording this, that they're 11 days away from releasing a whole new massive continent, I'm very people are going to immediately get drawn back into Genshin, or they've seen that that we're so close, and people are hopping back into Genshin to make sure that they're caught up on all of the quests that they need to, or any other expansions that they might have missed to then be playing.
Yeah, that's kind of tough for Tower of Fantasy, because the game, it is very inspired by Genshin from the looks of it. Like, you just look at it and I could totally see someone mistaking it for Genshin. And then when that happens, it makes the people who would already be likely to play this kind of game are also people who probably have played a lot of Genshin. And the people who already have that loyalty to, And
Genshin is one of those games that is designed to take your time. It is not designed to be like Destiny. You go in and you do a couple your couple daily events, and then you leave. Genshin is like if you want to spend the whole day in this game doing stuff, you can spend the whole day in this game doing stuff, as every day. So it'll be interesting to see when you have 2 games that are competing for someone's whole attention, how that's going to go.
Yeah, especially when they look so similar too,
Yeah.
I'll say this: I played 30 minutes and uninstalled. So
Tower of Fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not really your game though. That's a pretty rough judge.
I was hoping it would. I was like, I never tried Genshin. I'll say that. I know I needed to. Maybe I'll like Genshin. I just very early on, it just didn't click because even the talking just felt hollow. Like early on in the story, I was like, this just doesn't feel meaty. This isn't gripping me at all. So I probably didn't give it enough of a chance, but yeah. It's not like Elden Ring where I quit because I was frustrated.
Because you were bad at the game. Yeah.
Because I was just hot fucking garbage.
Yeah.
So
in Elden Ring, he couldn't get good, but in Tower of Fantasy, he couldn't get wood.
Is that a horny reference?
Yes, because it's a waifu heavy game.
Okay. All right.
And we all know Rhett
a
and
thing that was just said.
His addiction to waifus, of course. Yep.
So what have you been, speaking of waifus, Scrappy, what have you been playing?
So Xenoblade, so you remember how last week I was like, I'm 25 hours in and I still don't know if I like this. So I put 20 more hours into it since then. And do you want to guess how many chapters of the story I've gone through?
1.
2 more.
Just 1. Yeah. It was it was a 20-hour chapter. And most of it was like side quest shit. Because, of course it is. So it's definitely a slow paced game. If you didn't hear last week, I'm very middle of the road on this right now, and I don't think much of that has changed. And if anything, I am feeling even less invested in a lot of the gameplay mechanics and systems, because it's like I said last week, where anyone can be any class, and there are 23 classes, and you unlock them gradually. And I forgot to mention this last week, but so far I can only get each class up to rank 10, but all of them can go up to rank 20 by doing more side quests to unlock them. So it's like so much progression is out there, which is great for people who would love to fall into this game. But there is a handy, nifty little button on the status screen where it auto equips all the shit to your character when you change your classes. Because every time you change, you have to redo everything.
Is that an optimize button? It's
an optimize button essentially. And I've just been doing that for everyone because I'm like, I cannot be asked to change this character's entire fucking thing every hour or two. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, you know, I got this new armor on my tank, let's upgrade it. To be like, okay, now my tank is going to be DPS, so I need to change everything on them because that extra HP isn't really useful on DPS anymore. I need to change it to an attack gem or something. Like, that is very exhausting.
So is it more of an optimize, or is it like you can like have presets?
It's just optimized. If I could have presets, I would love that. But it's just an optimize button. And if you have if you've used the class before on the character, they save the last thing you used on them, which seems helpful, but it's like the last time I used that class was maybe like 10 levels ago. I've got a bunch of new shit that's like way better, you know? So it's like not that useful anymore anyway. So I don't know. I think I'm still falling into that same like kind of meh feeling of none of my characters feel like they matter, like from a mechanics standpoint. As long as I know I just have enough DPS, tank, and healer to have a balanced party. That's all I feel like I need.
Fun?
That is a very complicated question.
I feel like at the point that you're like
you look so
20
defeated.
hours into the game that you should know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's very, again, it's Zen. You know, you don't have to think about much. You just kind of like zone out and just look at it.
Have you ever heard of the game Forager?
No, I haven't.
Oh, interesting. I'll send you the link too.
Sure. I don't know. I think I am getting close to a point where it's like, if the story doesn't hook me anymore anytime soon, I might drop the game here. Because I did just get through a story beat that's like, oh, okay, it's like a surprise, like surprise and delight kind of moment, right? And it's like it increases the stakes of your story, so you can be a little more invested in your character drama. And I kind of want to see where it goes from there. But I don't know if it's going to outweigh, like, if I swear to fucking God, if chapter 4 is another 20 hours, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know if that's going to be something I'd want to stick with.
So you're in chapter 4 right now, or you're in chapter 3?
I am in chapter 3 or 4. I'm in chapter 4. Chapter 3 took me 20 hours.
Okay, and you know that the game has 7 chapters, right?
I am aware, and people say it takes like 150 hours to beat.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you realize that at the point that you're at now,
not even halfway.
No. Okay.
I talked with Austin, one of our writers, and he's way ahead of me. I think he's in maybe chapter 5 or something. And he said to me at some point, man, this new map that I'm on, it makes the other ones look small. I'm like, man, fuck you. That's not, that can't be.
I know that, well,
I wish you hadn't said anything.
We didn't have a code for review prior to launch, but I know that the person who is taking the review only just finished the game a few days ago.
And I bet he's been playing
nonstop.
Yeah.
Him and Isaac have. I don't know. I think Isaac beat the game a little bit before him, but I'm not sure. But yeah, this was a game that I wish we had gotten ahead of launch because.
Tell you what, it sounds like it's a game where even if you get a quarter of the way through, you're getting your $60 worth.
Kinda, yeah. It is a game where I feel like for the people who, just love checklists in a different way from like a Ubisoft game, right? Like this is more like I've picked up so many items, like just like ingredients and like monster parts.
Hey, Donald would be proud.
He would be. And don't get me started on Donald, because there's so much of that. Like they repeat the same things over and over again, at the end of battles. So, like, there's a version of this is a good place to find some ingredients in this game too. But no, I have so many of those ingredients and all that. I don't even look at them anymore. They're just like shiny gems to pick up because, again, they don't matter, right? There's like a tab in the quest tab that's like Collectopedia, I think it's called, where it's like the game can't even be asked for you to fetch quest things. It's just like they just minimize it to a menu where when you meet NPCs, they give you a card that's like, I want you to give me these items. And you don't even have to go back to them. You just go to the card in the menu and like hold down A to give them the items once you have them. But it's still a fetch quest, you know, like it's still there. And you're still amassing a list of garbage you don't think about and don't care about. And I bet like if you really wanted to fill out the Collectopedia, you would need a guide to like know where to farm that item, you know?
Yeah, and we talked about making one of those guides and then realized how much work it was going to be. So
yeah.
It's like it's that definitive point at which you say, and what I am about to try to make, is that going to be a guide or is that a wiki? Yeah. And when it treads into that, it's going to be a wiki phase. It's like, I'm not sure I want to take that big a dive.
At that point, I'll just let IGN do it.
Yeah.
Oh, which I say as I'm in the middle of making a wiki.
So I don't know. Xenoblade it's very, it's comfort food in a way. It's JRPG comfort food, right? Because it has a lot of the similar trappings of like, you know, big map to explore, lots of townsfolk and NPCs to talk to. But I don't think I'm going to remember much of it as much as I do like a Final Fantasy game or like Tales of Arise, you know? Yeah. Like Tales of Arise was a game of the year contender for me last year. Xenoblade, super not. Not even close. Yeah. Well, I think that does it for this week's episode of the TechRaptor Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please feel free to leave a review. Let us know in the comments down below, either on YouTube or on our site. What do you think of the console wars coming back? Are you an Xbot? Are you a Sony pony? Sound off down below. And if you haven't yet, share the show with a friend. Share the show with your fellow Xbots and Sony ponies, so that way they can also start flame wars down in the comments below.
Why are you inviting this? What's wrong with you?
Can't wait till this makes it on Reddit.
Everyone have a nice fun time.
Pat each other on the back or something.
I'm having a fun time, but only on my PlayStation, not the garbage Xbox. Am I right?
Okay, we're cutting this. Goodbye. See you next week.
Yeah, we'll be back next Monday. And see you then.